Welcome to the Financial Report. Local shares climbed to a three-week closing high following a positive lead from Wall Street. The Hang Seng Index rose 221 points to close at 20,904. Turnover stood at $52 billion. Trading was also lifted by reports that Beijing may ease its monetary policy to boost economic growth on the mainland. Now let's take a look at some of today's most active stocks. ICBC's up by 6 cents, China Mobile's up by 80 cents, and AIA is up by 75 cents. Tencent is up by $3, PetroChina is up by 14 cents, and HSBC Holdings is down by 15 cents. Taking a look at the Hong Kong dollar exchange rates, the US dollar stands at 7.75, the pound sterling's at 11.56, the Japanese yen's at 7.75, the euro's at 9.94, and 100 Hong Kong dollars will give you 79.08 renminbi. In overseas markets, the London FTSE is down by 40 points at 6,472. London gold is trading at $1,257 and 38 cents an ounce. In Frankfurt, the DAX is down by 42 points at 8,015. And in Paris, the CAC is down by 27 points at 3,816. And that's the finance for Wednesday night. Join us for the main news after the break.
Coming up, main news and weather report. Sparkling 25.
The ATV 2013 Miss Asia pageant is about to start. Ladies, come and show your beauty to the world.
The ATV 2013 Miss Asia pageant is now open for your application online.
Stay close to fresh K-pop from the hottest selling artists to the up-and-coming superstars. Keep in touch with the latest chart of the Korean pop music scene on Samsung Digital Special, Pops in Seoul, Thursday at 6:25.
7 couples, 30-day trip. It's lifetime happiness to travel around amazing sights. But it could also be a nightmare, because you cannot predict when you'll be voted to go home. Leisure Time, Coach Trip, every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday night at 8:30 p.m.
What happens now could be prevented in the future. What was impossible yesterday might become possible tomorrow. Let's find out how science makes our world a better place. Tomorrow Today, Saturday night at 7.
A pipeline was built in Russia. To stop the monopoly of petroleum extraction. Will it become an invasive creature that destroys nature? Or a providential savior that leads the region to prosperity? Documentary World, Pipeline Next Door, Sunday night at 9.
Destination.
Good evening, you're watching the news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Belinda Lloyd.
And I'm Britain Clennett. Here's a look at tonight's headlines.
Pro-Democracy Alliance denies violating Basic Law with proposal to give all voters a say in electing next chief executive.
Lau Wong-Fat urges government to postpone landfill expansion plan until October to avoid defeating LegCo vote.
Landslide buries more than 30 people as Sichuan is battered by days of heavy rain. A coalition of pan-Democrats fighting for universal suffrage has dismissed concerns that its reform proposals for the next chief executive election violate the Basic Law.
The Alliance for Universal Suffrage is insisting its proposals meet the terms and conditions set out for the 2017 election, and Beijing will be foolish to ignore them.
The Alliance wants to give all voters the right to have a say in the election by getting to choose the committee that will nominate candidates. With not even a timetable yet from the government for a blueprint for universal suffrage, the Alliance for True Democracy today rolled out its own proposals on how to go about electing the chief executive in 2017. The Alliance, which comprises 26 pan-democratic lawmakers, academics and others, presented 3 ideas on how the city can elect its leader. All 3 touch on the size and composition of the future nominating committee for chief executive candidates. Under the first proposal, all legislators and district councillors would form the nominating committee, which would be about 500 strong. The second option would see district councillors added to the existing 1,193-member election committee, which picked Leung Chun-ying for the top job last year. That would take the committee size to around 1,500. The third suggestion is to let all of Hong Kong's 3.2 million registered voters elect nomination committee members. This would involve dividing the city into 20 constituencies, each of which would have to come up with 20 nomination committee members, which will add up to a total of 400 nominating delegates. Under these proposals, candidates can be endorsed to run in the chief executive race if they obtain at least 10% of nominations from committee members. Alternatively, candidates could secure the committee's endorsement if they gather 80,000 signatures or 2% of the 3.2 million voters who are on the electoral register. Alliance convener Joseph Cheng clarified that the proposals are meant to facilitate discussion on the way forward and are not an attempt to lay out the ground rules dictating what path universal suffrage should take in Hong Kong.
We understand that the Chinese leaders or the SAR government will engage in a consultation process. And as we represent 26 legislators and almost all of the pro-democracy groups, we certainly do not fear that we be excluded from the consultation process. So we think that we have the right, the legitimate right to be consulted, and we certainly will be quite ready, quite enthusiastic to engage in this consultation process.
Cheng stressed the Alliance made sure all 3 ideas complied with the requirements laid out in the Basic Law and the National People's Congress decision in 2007, paving the way for direct elections from 2017, while balancing those requirements with international standards. Liberal Party lawmaker James Tien welcomed the proposals.
So we have always urged the government to start consultation, say like right now, middle of 2013. But since government is unwilling, and the pan-Democrats already came up with their proposal, I certainly welcome that, because at least out of the 26 pan-Democratic legislators, there is a consensus view. At least that's easier to handle than if the pan-Democrats come up with 4 or 5 different propositions. It will be even more difficult to find a consensus.
But other members of the pro-establishment camp were quick to criticize their political rivals.
I think this suggestion emanates from the Western model of ballot initiatives, which has actually caused a lot of governance problems in California. The abuse of ballot initiatives, which depends purely on numbers and not on the broad representativeness of the voters.
And I think it may not necessarily follow the Basic Law, but I can study it further.
Unfazed by the opposition, the Alliance warned that Beijing would be foolish to ignore Hong Kong's calls for greater democracy and the ideas they are floating.
Basically, we have full confidence in the political wisdom of the Chinese leadership. We think that the Chinese leaders understand perfectly that unless you have a political reform proposal acceptable to the majority of the Hong Kong people, there is a distinct danger that Hong Kong will become ungovernable. The government will lose its legitimacy.
The alliance claims its proposals would address concerns about the future nominating committee's lack of legitimacy or mandate. The Pan-Democrats will settle on a final option by the end of the year after consulting the public.
Rural leader Lau Wong-Fat has asked the government to postpone its plans to expand the Chun Mun and Ta Kwu Ling landfills until after LegCo's summer recess.
The government is facing defeat when lawmakers vote on funding for the expansion plans on Friday, but officials are not giving up yet. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
If the government is hoping its traditional ally Lau Wong-Fat can be persuaded to stop opposing its landfill expansion plans, the Heung Yi-kup chief is suggesting a way out.
The
rural heavyweight, who also chairs the Tuen Mun District Council, urged the government to postpone its funding application to expand the Tuen Mun and Ta Kwu Ling landfills until after LegCo's summer recess. Lau said it's the best solution to avoid more conflict and infighting among lawmakers. He stressed that he doesn't have any other preconditions. Earlier this week, he vowed to persuade at least 35 lawmakers to vote no in Friday's Finance Committee meeting. The government is seeking $35 million for a feasibility study to expand the Tuen Mun landfill by 200 hectares and $7 billion to enlarge the Ta Kwu Ling landfill by 70 hectares. And while the officials concerned are going all out to lobby lawmakers for their support, even traditional allies are unwilling to alienate potential voters among local residents who don't want rubbish dumped in their backyards. Lau's own LegCo party, the Business and Professionals Alliance, is divided. Lo Wai Kwok has already said he will vote no, but Jeffrey Lam, who's also an executive councillor, wants to support the government.
Well, right now, I, as an executive councillor, I shall vote for the proposal by the government. But again, the final decision will be made after the district council meeting tomorrow, because we do not want to speculate what kind of conclusion they would come to.
Lam was referring to tomorrow's Tuen Mun District Council meeting, which Chief Secretary Carrie Lam is due to attend in a last-ditch effort to secure support. With the Pan-Democrats forming the bulk of opposition and a number of pro-establishment lawmakers also planning to vote no, the government is facing defeat on Friday. Opponents have been encouraged by the president, Environment Secretary Wong Kam Seng said last month when he decided to shelve the plan to expand the Tseung Kwan O landfill rather than see it voted down. Tuen Mun residents have vowed to put up the same kind of stiff resistance as their Tseung Kwan O counterparts to force another U-turn by the government. Emily Sue, ATV News.
A LegCo committee has decided not to take action against veteran Democrat Albert Home after investigating his failure to declare a conflict of interest over his shareholdings in a property rental firm.
The committee found that while there was no need for Ho to declare his interest in a property held by a company that he was a director of, he should have disclosed his stake in the company itself.